And oh, there we
Oh,
go.
hello.
I'll start again. All right. I'm Bob Durr, managing editor of Sports Illustrated Kids Magazine. I'm also one of the co-chairs of A3, which is Time Inc.'s Asian Affinity Group. And on behalf of all of us, including the Asian group at AOL, HBO Mosaic, Turner Asia, Apex at Time Warner, I'd like to welcome you all to the kickoff event of our celebration of Asian Heritage Month. We're very fortunate and very excited to have with us a great panel discussing a very interesting topic that I think is the topic at hand. So I'm going to go in alphabetical order, and I'm going to start with Michael He, who is the VP of Marketing and Strategic Development of Imagine Asian TV, which is America's first 24/7 Asian American TV network. I'm also going to point over to Kate Rigg, who is an award-winning performer and playwright, and also works with Snapdragon Consultants, and who's done a lot of, through Snapdragon, has done a lot of research into Asian American youth culture, specifically on college campuses around the country. Arun Venugopal, close?
It's good.
All right. On-air reporter for WNYC Radio, New York's NPR affiliate, and he reports regularly on City Hall and racial issues. And Jeff Yang, who I think many of you know here, is currently working with the marketing research group Econoculture on offering insights into the emerging Asian markets as well as the Asian American demographic. Jeff has his hand in a lot of things, and many of you might know him also as the founder of A Magazine. So we thought that we would kick things off, broad stroking, as you saw in the description of the panel, 14 million Asian Americans, almost $450 billion in spending power, a large demographic, an influential demographic, but one that we probably don't know as much about, even if we are Asian Americans, as we should. So I want to start
For these kids was about lack of representation in the media, like just a sort of invisibility in the media, or misrepresentation in the media, sort of like images and pictures that were made by either non-Asians or people who were invested in old ideas or old Orientalist ideas, both of which take their toll on human beings who are out there, both of which take their toll on kids who have no role models, who when I ask them, who are your role models for Asian America, they say Bruce Lee, right? That's significant. When I ask them what are the big things that you're confronting, they're like, well, I'm an American. I lay down my dollars at the movie theater and I buy products and whatever, and I never see myself on TV. I see a manicurist, but I don't see myself. And people are affected by
Most amount of time spent watching TV per day of any racial group. They have the largest percentage of time spent online. It's actually about 20% less TV and about 25% more internet time than any other group.
When you're saying, let's try to capture the Indian American or South Asian American market, what does that mean? Does that mean somebody like me who's grown up here, or does that mean a 30-year-old who came here, got his his master's in engineering, and doesn't watch network TV too much? He watches satellite TV. He watches Hindi movies or Tamil movies. He reads. He might read a Gujarati newspaper on the side, that kind of thing. It's very difficult in some ways, but at the same time, I think as marketing gets more specific and as more sophisticated, and I think as the media starts finally being directed more, then they'll realize that there are also opportunities in being able to target very specific niches. It's happening in some of the ethnic media. You see that
Identity is fluid. Identity is nowhere near as fixed, as rigid, as much a kind of context-building thing for people of this generation, not just Asian Americans, but people, from all backgrounds within this frame. We actually have this term, playlist identity, right? This idea that your identity increasingly, as a millennial, and I think increasingly even non-millennials, is something where you have almost like a salad bar of things you can pick and choose from. You have a playlist of things you can pick and choose from, and in certain contexts, you define yourself according to certain things. And it's the context that drives you. It's not you that drives the context. So do we always think of ourselves as Asian American because we happen to be Asian in America? No, we don't. And I think for millennials, You know, it's a completely fluid thing, and they're comfortable with that. They don't feel like they have to be boxed into one or another, you know, sort of checkoff point. But what that means actually is that, you know, this whole question of either or isn't really a very good question to ask, because it's
what Asian America is. And it's not in language. It's not you have to do everything in Chinese. Is it in Mandarin? Is it in Canton? No, that's not your expertise. Your expertise should be on the lifestyle of Asian Americans. Okay?
It's like, how are we going to get the attention of these individuals when they're no longer willing to be defined by a lot of the categories, by a lot of the channels and platforms that we've established already, traditionally? I think that the only answer that you can give to that is, you know, you've got to include them in the process. This is a group that has grown up feeling like it has control over consumption, that, you know, they're the ones that decide when they're going to be marketed to and when not.
Now in history, I think, right now in history, you're talking about the 1.5 generation. There's also Generation Xers who are Asian, who were born here, who are starting to dictate style as well as Americans, Asian Americans or American Asians, whatever you want to call them. That there's starting to be a shift towards embracing both things. Yes, there's a diasporic cultural thing where you have Korean Americans, Chinese Americans, Japanese Americans, Vietnamese Americans, Indian Americans, etc., who all have their own particular relationship to America, right? However, all these kids are starting to get together, even though people have just come over recently, because they're surrounded by people who are born here anyhow, okay? So all these people are coming together and starting to define now, because I can't define it for you because it's happening now, what is Asian American or what is American Asian, all right? And, you know, anthropologically, you can look at how you're treated by other people, what you look like, what you eat, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that the people who are this hot age that everybody wants, are actively looking for their BET. They're looking for their Asian American identity and what's cool about being Asian American. Now, what we have, our challenge is to be aware and inclusive in a way of what the distinct cultures are in everybody's background, and to be compassionate and sort of not trying to erase people's individual identities as a person who's descended of Vietnamese immigrants or whatever. But also to start offering solutions to a big group that's walking around going, well, these are my friends, and we're all Asian American, and we all kind of like bubble tea. Now what? What's out there for us in terms of what we can consume and what we can create? And I think that the YouTube example, I'm not sure if you said YouTube, but user-generated media and is a great place to look. What are they talking about? What are people? Why is the guy who did Crazy Asian Mama got 3.5 million hits on his YouTube thing? 3.5 million. And you know that it's not all Korean Americans who looked at that Korean kid. It's all kinds of kids looking at that thing. When I put a thing up about naughty Asian schoolgirls, now, yes, there was all the white people, but I also got tons and tons of hits because it was a political reaction to internet porn, basically, right? Lots and lots of hits because that's right. There is an audience out there that's looking for stuff about them, and they don't care sometimes whether it's Korean or Japanese. They don't care. They're like, oh, an Asian American comic. Cool. Click, click. Steve Burns on TV, Jo Koy's on TV, I'm on TV, Margaret Cho's on TV. Do you think people are really coming up to me and going, well, I'm not Indonesian, so I don't get your humor? No. They're going, it's cool. You're talking about Asian America. You're talking about me. So there's the me that's American Asian, and then there's the me that is within different demographics. And as media makers, it's a really hot time because you can really literally start dictating style and content. And I think that one of the biggest solutions to this problem is integration, because we all crave it anyways. We crave being part of American culture. So a show like Grey's Anatomy has put on Sandra Oh as a doctor. A lot of Asian people watch that show. Wait, I'm almost finished. So I think that in ads, like having an all Asian, like a Armani ad would not be as effective as having an Asian guy with a couple of his friends who are white and maybe a black guy. But then Asian Americans are like, oh, I'm part of that too. Bam, bam, here are my dollars for the Armani clothes. It's about people in the mainstream media paying attention to what's happening in subculture, and then instead of going like, okay, well, we're just going to do like a Chinese ad for Rolex watches. No. Bring people together and reflect what's happening inside Asian people's hearts, which is we want to be part of this thing.